Chris, I just got done listening to the entire backlog of Game of the Year orchestra medleys of Game of the Years. You know how they play the Game of the Year medley for all of the nominees? I took 40 minutes to go listen to everyone that's ever been performed.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's for the Game Awards with the TGA orchestra or whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it did two things. One, it reminded me of all of the games that had been nominated in the past, some of which I was surprised to see. And then you go back and you think, they won that year and they won that year. But God, the medley is just so good. It's such a celebration of games, and I love orchestral music and classical music and all that. And it's such a cool mashup of two worlds, and I could listen to it on repeat. It would be amazing. I want some of because an orchestral arrangement is different than some of the original games, right? A
totally.
really good example is Balatro this year, right? But there's now for at least 25 seconds there is an orchestral arrangement of the Balatro theme, and I want the full orchestral arrangement of the Balatro theme. But that's true of a lot of games, and it's just God, it's so good.
It's really funny that you mention Balatro and having an orchestra thing, because I had something pop up on my YouTube that was 8-hour loop of somebody doing a live playing of the Balatro theme. They played it on instruments, not synths. And I'll have to see if I can find it. But it was, the whole Balatro theme itself is only a minute long, and they just loop it forever because it's one of those kind of loopy songs. But there are versions out there, I guess I'll say.
This is in the exact same vein as the DuckTales Moon theme.
Yes.
Because the DuckTales Moon theme on the original chiptune it's a bopping song, right? It's so good. But then you listen to a piano arrangement of it or a full orchestra arrangement of it, and you're just this song is so good. And it's just it's the same as that, but it's the best games of the year. So it's always someone put out a brand new video of all of them almost immediately after it was over. They had queued up everything but the newest one, and then they added the newest one and published it last night. So It included the most recent years. It was great. I hope whoever did it does it every year, because I'll listen to the entire backlog every year.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. That's got to be somebody's thing now. They've got Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro project. They just tack on the next one every year at this point. Have they been doing the orchestra, the music thing, since the first Game Awards 10 years ago?
No, they'd only been, or at least the guy that the video that I watched had only showed through 2017. So I think they started it in 2017. But this is, good intro to the show, but the Game Awards celebrated 10 years this year. So I guess they've been doing it since 2013 or 2014, however you want to math that, or 2015, however you want to math that. But I only saw arrangements for the Game of the Year back to 2017. I guess I didn't realize that they have been doing the game. They reminded you 15 times during the show this year that it's the 10th anniversary, but I guess I didn't really realize it, because I don't know that I've been watching the Game Awards since before 2021 maybe is about when I remember that I start watching it. But maybe I watched it before that, maybe in 2018, 2019. I'd have to go back and listen to this show, actually, because we probably talked about it if we watched it. But
we probably did. Yeah.
Man, I was watching the medleys, and I remember those games winning or those games being really good, but I didn't really start having real memories of, yes, I've seen this before. I recognize that stage. I recognize these games on screen until 2021.
Yeah, I feel we watched clips of it before, but I don't think we actually, you and I, sat down and started watching the event itself all the way through until, you're probably right, about 2021-ish. Just because it wasn't as big of a thing. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now for the Game Awards, and they say that the first year in 2014 had only 1.9 million viewers, which is still a lot of people. But the one this year had 118 million viewers. So they've gone up by quite a few fold in the last 10 years.
That's a big audience. That's
yeah.
That's as big as they get. Well, this entire episode is going to be about TGA, the Game Awards, and I'm actually very excited to have watched it and to talk about it. So we can dig right in. Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 142.
All right, so we're just going to keep rolling here. Chris and I were a little confused about the time. I knew it started, like the stream started at 7:30, but I guess I had totally forgotten that it starts with a pre-show, just like we do, but it starts with a pre-show.
Yeah, and their pre-show is not nearly as entertaining as ours, I think. Although it's essentially just an extension of the show, and they do little rapid fire for like the smaller awards and stuff. Like they did all of the esports stuff, I think, during the pre-show. They always do this. I mean, they always do like 5 or 6 or 7 awards, and then like 5 or 6 or 7 trailers, basically. And I don't think they did anything like major during that, but there were a couple of things that I know that we wrote down that I kind of wanted to mention as we talk about the pre-show.
Yeah, it's almost they wanted to get the airtime, but they don't have the theater for that long because they start seating around when the pre-show starts. You can see people sitting down, but the actual like streamed show starts. But I didn't notice. I did keep an eye on the viewer count. I didn't notice it changing much once the pre-show started. So it looks like, at least from my perspective, that everyone that was viewing online was basically there since 7:30. But obviously, in the background of the show, you could see people hadn't sat down yet.
Yeah, I started watching on YouTube at almost 7 o'clock. Like I got the time completely wrong, and I thought it started at 7. And so I watched a countdown for half an hour before the half hour that was the countdown to the show that started at 8.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't say they were smaller announcements. I think they were pretty big announcements. You had a couple of world premieres during the pre-show.
That's true.
I think we only wrote down maybe one world premiere and one kind of thing to note, but I think there were maybe 3-ish like actual like never seen before world premieres.
I mean, anything is a world premiere if you've never shown it before. So it's like, just because they say, world premiere, which they did not say world premiere like Xbox does, but they did mention it every time they had one. You could be a tiny indie studio and you could be like, here's our world premiere for our indie game that is made by one person, like, which is really cool. Like that's, don't get me wrong, that's really cool. But I guess when you say world premiere, you think of it being like, big AAA, whatever, but that's not the technical definition of world premiere. Anyway, the game that was a world premiere that we wrote down was this game called Thick as Thieves. That was a like stealth, like PvP game looking like it was like a jewel heist, but then there were like multiple thieves that were all trying to kind of capture the flag of like whatever the shiny jewel thing was they were trying to steal.
It was a PvPvE game, right? Because you're all trying to capture this, MacGuffin, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Right. But you're infiltrating an area that was like patrolled by guards and had traps and lasers and all of that. But then other people are also trying to get there as fast as they can, and they can stun you or throw gas or whatever. I mean, I think it was more of a cinematic trailer than an actual gameplay trailer, but it was, I don't know, it just felt like a very fresh take on a stealth heist genre.
Yeah, I don't usually like stealth games because I'm not very good at them. I'm probably not going to be good at this, and I don't even know if I'm going to play this, but it looks like a really cool take on like that kind of, I guess, role playing almost. I mean, it's not an RPG, but like that kind of like putting yourself in that situation. There are other games that we've played like this. Monaco is like a top-down 2D version of the same, but not as competitive. It's more co-op. There's other games like this that I'm trying to think of.
Like Payday. I think it's created by the Payday people or
oh yeah, Payday. Yeah.
And Monaco's a good example. It's a little bit more tough. Yeah. But it's in that world of heist, like go get the thing and get out. But it looked like it was, at least from the trailer, it looked like you're acting solo and you have kind of almost like a hero, like an Overwatch hero, right? Like where you have special abilities, and depending on those abilities, you're going to plan your entry and you're going to plan your exit. But as you're doing this, other players are attempting the same thing, and you're almost racing for the MacGuffin and then to get away with it. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, there was another game like this. I think it was over the summer. It was like one of those PlayStation exclusives, right? Wasn't there something that was like a bank heist game? I'm trying to remember what it was, but do you know the one I'm thinking of?
I don't.
Okay, it was like a team versus team like heist game. I'm sure I could go back and find it, but anyway, this kind of genre seems to be kind of making a bit of a move, and that happens. I don't know how it happens, but like it seems like things go in waves. Remember a couple years ago we were talking about all the zombie games? Like,
yeah,
there were a couple of zombie games here, but it wasn't that many.
No, that was a bad run. I'm glad we're past that.
Everybody's over zombies. Anyway, Thick as Thieves looks pretty cool, but the one that I was most excited about was Slay the Spire 2, which we got to see the gameplay of Slay the Spire 2 in like a trailer. And I remember saying, as we were watching this trailer, I said to Jason, I goes, there's so many new cards.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I feel like I have a good feel for Slay the Spire and like kind of knowing what all the cards do, but now there's a bunch more cards that do more things. And then I've got the like the board game in my head as well, where the cards all do slightly different things. So this is all getting very confusing.
That's the point though, right? Like to add more variety and more, because you basically know it all. You see a card that comes up and you know exactly what it does. Isn't there a mode in Slay the Spire where like you can disable the text on the card so you don't know what it does, or you can disable like certain parts of the card that you can't see it, but you get this huge bonus? And it's only possible for people that know the cards so well that they don't need to like read it or see it or whatever. I mean, this is aiming. This Slay the Spire 2 is an obvious follow up to that, where like, hey, if you know Slay the Spire so well that you don't even need to look at the cards anymore, some new cards are going to be a very good benefit. Like, you clearly like the game, so here's some more of it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. Don't get me wrong. It was just kind of a thing where they showed all these new cards, and I was like, oh yeah, of course there's going to be new cards, and of course it's going to change the game. And I mean, that's the exciting part, but it's still a little bit overwhelming to think like, oh, I've learned all these cards. Now I need to learn a whole nother set of cards, which is great. It's a good problem to have. But I just, in the moment, it was a little bit overwhelming.
I haven't played Slay the Spire that much. It didn't seem to me that they were changing the formula of the game too much. Is that fair to say from the trailer we saw?
I think you're right, although there were a few little mechanic-y things that looked different. There was something involving like you could basically place a meat shield in front of you, like a summon that basically would take hits before you took hits, which is kind of an interesting idea. There were a couple of other things that were in the like map traversal, I think I remember thinking that were a little bit interesting. I think there's some good twists that was weird. on what's going on.
Yeah, cool. We did not write down anything else from the pre-show. The one thing I wanted to note is that during the pre-show, and maybe this is a little foreshadowing, they did announce some winners. The one that caught me was Best Family Game. Went to Astrobot, which beat out a bunch of Nintendo games. I think you and I were talking like it's going to be hard for them to beat Nintendo games. And they did. And I thought that was notable. And we'll swing back around to that. But I really, really liked the Astrobot's speech for winning Best Family Game. And we will talk about it again a little later. But they tugged on those heartstrings for me during that, talking about like family and people and playing games together, parents and kids. And I really like felt it during that speech. And it just seems so, that part of it seems so genuine to me. And I really liked hearing them get to talk about that award and what it meant to them.
Yeah, they beat 3 different Nintendo games in that category. For Family Game. So hats off to them. That was really good.
So at 8 o'clock, we transitioned from the pre-show to the show, which meant nothing for the people viewing at home. And apparently everyone finally got to their seat. So they started the show, and they transitioned from the lovely lady who does the pre-show to Jeff Keighley. And let me just say, they just, what a great production. I think maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more, but just right off the bat, like it really has grown to something massive. But they took that and they immediately threw it away by transitioning to the Muppets, which caught me off guard. Did they do this last year? Is this something they did every year and I'm just forgetting, or is this something new?
I think it is something that they do every year, because I don't know if it's Statler and Waldorf every time. I think it might be. But it might have been Kermit last year or the year before. But somebody said, like, it's just a thing that they do. Like, it's a thing they've always done, and it's just kind of a thing that they do. So I don't really get it, but I mean, Muppets are fun. So I guess it was a fun little aside, and it wasn't like
they are
overdone.
Fun, but I don't understand the tie-in at all.
True. I mean, yes, but it wasn't overbearing. It wasn't too long. I mean, it was kind of, groany jokes, because that's kind of their thing, but like it was fine. It was like a fun little surprise, like a fun little treat of like, oh, look, Muppets.
Yeah. I mean, they were good. There were a couple like, a couple like, okay, groany jokes, but there were a couple like burns in there that like, I'm sure Jeff Keighley approved the script, but oh my gosh, I was like, wow, all right, they went there. I think one of them was like, oh man, I guess they just let anything in here now. They're letting DLC into the Game of the Year nomination. I was just like, wow. Let's go.
Yep. That was for Elden Ring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after the Muppets, though, they really kind of got straight into the games, right? They really jumped right into awards and game trailers and world premieres and whatever. And they started off with one that I didn't quite get at first, but you were very, very excited about once you realized what was going on.
Oh, they come in and they don't show you very much. They show you this female getting ready for some kind of ritual. And then they walk outside and you see a hooded figure with just a little bit of hair peeking out. And you're like, I don't really know what's going on. And then you realize that the hair is white and it's braided white hair with two swords on her back. And you're like, this is the Witcher. And then the white-haired woman starts talking with her swords, and you quickly realize that it's Ciri as a Witcher, which is a little bit of a spoiler, but Witcher 3 has been out for a while, and so has the TV show. So whatever. And I got so excited. I've never played Witcher 3. I've never played any of the Witcher games, but I have seen the show, and I really liked the show. And I've always wanted to play The Witcher because it seems so good. But I'm like kind of invested in the story now because I've seen the Netflix show. And I was very, very excited for this trailer. I really, really like gobbled it up. It was so good.
Yeah, the trailer was excellent. I don't know if I would be successful at playing a game like this. I mean, they didn't show any gameplay stuff. It was all cinematic, but I am tempted to look at The Witcher 3, which I checked, and it's on sale right now for like $8. So if you wanted to pick it up as something to play over the holidays, now is a good time.
I own it.
Oh, well, okay, I don't.
So if the listeners want to pick it up, they can pick it up. But I own the super duper version with all of the DLC and everything, and I've never played it. So
I think that's $10 right now too. So
yeah, I would love to play it. It's a little scary, and that's what worries me a little bit. The TV show is a little scary, but I got through it. It's such a big, I mean, it's such a big single player game. And I keep saying this, like, I have plenty of single player games to play right now. I'm probably not going to go back and play The Witcher. However, I have seen some people recommending the books or some of the Witcher books, and that may actually get me. Because I feel like once I finish, this is a very big side, once I finish some Brandon Sanderson stuff that's currently in the queue, I may pick up some Witcher stuff when Witcher 4 release date gets announced, like as an intro to Witcher 4. I think that might be the way that I continue my Witcher journey.
Yeah, I mean, when you say you have some Brandon Sanderson stuff, that's like 5 single player games combined right now. Like, good luck.
Yeah, it's potentially like 6,000 pages to read, but no big deal.
Sure. Anyway, I think I The thing that gets me is that The Witcher 3 is actually a really, really good Steam Deck game, I believe, like, because it's old enough that it works really well on the Steam Deck. So that is the thing that's kind of got me intrigued on The Witcher 3. So it's on my list.
You'll have to let me know. You let me know how scary it is, and I would have to figure out like exactly how long it is. You made a joke to me the other day, and it really hit hard. Like, I think I said something about like, oh, that game's too long, and you were like, so longer than 6 hours, and I was like, yes, that's what I meant. So I don't know. I'm struggling with anything longer than 6 to 10 hours right now, and but I want to play a game like I want to play The Witcher 3, but maybe I'm just being realistic.
I've got bad news for you. How Long to Beat says 51 hours for the main story.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I have that kind of time. But maybe. We'll see.
You know what I do have time for, because I will make time for? It Takes Two's studio head. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. Do you remember his name?
No, I don't remember his name, but he was a presence on the stage.
Boy, was he a guy. He knows how to live life. Jeez, oh Louise. I don't know his name. Maybe you'll look it up as I'm talking, but the guy for It Takes Two and A Way Out and that studio, which I also don't remember the name of.
Hazelight Studios.
Thank you, Hazelight. Got up on stage to announce their next game. Their next game called Split Fiction, which is exactly the same type of game as It Takes Two and A Way Out. Split screen, co-op only one person needs to own it. And it just hit. Man, I think I was yelling in your ear because I was so excited. Because I loved It Takes Two. I don't know how much we've talked about it on the show before, but the first time I played It Takes Two, it was truly an immaculate joy. Like it was the surprises and the story. It was just so good. A Way Out, not so good. Their first game, they learned a lot, whatever. Split Fiction looks like an absolute perfect spiritual successor to the gameplay style, the story style, the art style, everything. The next It Takes Two, and I hope it is Game of the Year worthy again. My expectations are so high, and maybe that's a bad thing, but I am so ready to play this game.
I also am interested to play this game. I think we did talk about It Takes Two like a year or so ago. I played it through with my wife, and that was really fun, and we did really well with it. There were a few parts that were really frustrating just for her. She's not as much of a gamer. I was watching the trailer for Split Fiction, and I'm a little bit concerned that they're going to go a little further in the gamery kind of realm, like require a little bit of a higher skill floor with this one. And I don't know how that's going to do, for people that want to play this with people that are maybe less gamer-y. But, that's just what it looks like from the trailer. That doesn't mean that it will be that way, but I'm a little bit nervous about that.
I thought about it a little bit more since we watched it, and they clearly showed the highest excitement, the highest octane moments of the game. Sure. So I'm hoping that maybe that's not true, because there are some pretty high octane moments of It Takes Two. But the visuals in Split Fiction, I think, are bigger and bombastier. I don't know. The setting makes it possible to be bigger and brighter and more explosions and stuff like that. So I hope that it's as approachable as It Takes Two. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they lean a little harder. I also wouldn't be surprised if they lean a little harder into the difficulty a tiny bit, but also add some kind of accessibility option of some sort where better checkpoints or infinite life or whatever. I don't know what it is. So I can see that as well, where they don't feel like they could make it, as easy as It Takes Two. Let's quite honestly, as easy as it takes to, but they could, make it just as accessible.
Yeah, I think they need something kind of like that, and I hope that they are thinking about that. Even if you think about if you're playing with young kids who aren't super good, before they get good at games, because kids have this little curve. But if you're playing with a kid that couldn't really quite keep up, but they wanted to kind of experience the game, you would need the same kind of affordances. And I don't know. It Takes Two isn't really designed for that. It's got a little bit more grown up theme, in terms of the overarching story, not adult themes, but you know what I mean? The main the main theory is about,
it's about
parents
divorce.
Getting a divorce. It doesn't really translate for children. So I guess that's the kind of audience they're talking about here. But the premise, the frame story for this looks so cool.
Yeah, I mean, so the trailer, right, is what writers are coming into some kind of simulation, and they're writers of stories, and they go into a simulation maybe of their own stories. That seems to be what it was. But that was cool, and a good it was cool that they it's very Alan Wakey in that they maybe kind of know what's going to happen, but they didn't really make that clear in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and the name of it, right? Split Fiction, is because it's not just split screen. I mean, which is also it's a very clever name. But the writers are fiction writers, and one of them is a fantasy writer and the other one is a sci-fi writer. And so the levels, they said, alternate between fantasy and sci-fi. And I will say that I really like world building and games that do fantasy and sci-fi. So this is perfect for my interests in gaming, I guess I'll say. So I'm very excited about kind of going through and seeing what they do with different tropes and different things from both fantasy and sci-fi.
It is absolutely perfect for me too. I have some fantasy sci-fi. Brandon, we've already talked about Brandon Sanderson, right? He's sci-fi, but he's a little bit more into the fantasy world. And then I really like sci-fi, The Expanse and some of those space genres or space books and shows. Star Wars, obviously, space sci-fi. It's just I'm so excited about those two genres being the primary back and forth of the game, and I cannot wait. I cannot. I have no words. I just want to play this game. And we don't have to wait very long, which was such incredible. I think when he started to announce this game, I was like, I hope to God I can play this game next week. And it's not quite that soon.
But it's really soon though. It's March, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I mean, it feels like forever away for me because I want to play it tomorrow. But yes, it is March 6th, 2025. You can play Split Fiction, and it will be a day one play for me. It will be absolute, no doubt, day one I will play this game. It's in my calendar. It's one of those things, very few games do I say I put this in my calendar, but this one is in my calendar. I'm buying it day one and I will be playing it.
Good. Maybe I can bum a guest pass off of you for an hour or two to demo it and then go buy it myself.
Okay, for the next 2 minutes, I can talk about the next topic by myself, I assume, right? Is that how this works?
Yeah, I'm going to go get a drink. I'll be back.
So we knew Warframe was coming to the Game Awards. I said it last episode. I'm a little bummed that they didn't get nominated for anything, but whatever. They always show up. I think this is the second or third year in a row where they've actually showed up to make an announcement of some sort at the Game Awards. Rebecca Ford got up on stage and introduced Warframe 1999. My favorite joke that she made is if anyone in the audience here has never heard of Warframe before, and you don't really know what it is, don't worry, because after 10 years, neither really do we. I was like, that is a perfect explanation of Warframe.
Yeah, I heard that. That was funny. I played a little bit of Warframe.
But she got up there. We knew that Warframe 1999 was coming in December. They had announced that, but they never told us the exact date. Playing Warframe 1999 is exactly what I should be doing right now, because they announced on stage that it would be available the next day. It was available 10 a.m. the next day. This was all clearly super planned. And I should be playing right now, and I really want to be playing this weekend. So I will probably be playing this weekend. And I I'm really excited about it. Like, listen, like I can talk about Warframe forever, but I'm just going to give the like 2-second pitch on this. Warframe 1999 it comes back to 1999, which is, I don't know, a cool decade. Like a lot of cool stuff. There's a boy band that's involved in all of this. So the music is really good because I really like kind of boy band music. I know, weird, but whatever. But like it draws it back to what I'm calling Warframe Origins. It's really the start of like, how did Warframes come to exist? How did the world become what it is in the game of Warframe? Because Warframe takes place like hundreds or thousands of years into the future. But it theoretically stemmed from a similar but parallel universe to present day. So like a fractured, from today. So like we've always kind of asked the question, like, how did this happen? Where did it come from? Like, who are these people? How did this, what's the background of all of this? And they really start like it's almost like Star Wars, where they started on episode 4 and they were just like, I don't know how we got here. We'll tell you later. Well, this is the telling us, like they're finally going back and kind of like revealing a lot of the original secrets of Warframe. I don't know if they're revealing them, but it's the next step in that reveal, right? Going back to, again, like I'm calling this Warframe Origins. So I'm excited about that. I'm really excited for the cinematic story quest. I'm hoping they reveal a lot. I'm really excited for like the streamer analysis because there are a lot of very like big lore nerds for Warframe, and I always look forward to their analysis of the quest and what it all means after the fact. So that's why I'm excited about this.
I really like the 1999 aesthetic because it's a time I can remember like being alive, So there's a lot of things there where I can kind of be like, oh yeah, 1999. I remember everybody was freaking about Y2K and like all that kind of stuff. I don't think I'm going to play this though, because Warframe, not really my thing. But I'm happy that you're happy. Yeah, I know. And this is a me thing. I get it. It's okay. Like I'd love to share it with you, but I just don't. It doesn't. I can't. I don't know. I think you would like some of the, like, I should stream it a little bit for you in Discord, because like you have to like interact with how to like you start missions and all that on like a compute, like a CRT monitor. Oh, cool. And you like start missions from that. And one of the elements that they added is like AIM chat to interact with the characters. They added a lot of like character development and whatnot, but it's not voice conversations. It's you're chatting with them on an instant messenger, which is kind of cool. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Little Easter eggs like that. It's fun. So anyway, as soon as we hang up, I do want to play games with you and some other friends, but I think I might go into my hidey hole at some point during the weekend and and just knock out the quest. Okay. Well, it's been nice knowing you. We'll see if you come back for next episode. I'll resurface. Okay, good. Last year, the Game Awards got a lot of flack for for two things, really. One, not giving the winners enough time to make a speech and really have their time in the spotlight, which I think they did a really nice job of this year and giving the appropriate amount of time and whatnot. But the other thing that they got a lot of flack for last year was not addressing the games industry layoffs in an appropriate way, really not giving time or attention to the thousands of people that were losing their jobs, the talent and knowledge drain that was happening in the industry, and drawing attention to that issue and what it's going to be doing for the art form of games. This year, I think they the jury's still out with everyone and all of the critics, but from my perspective, I think they absolutely nailed addressing that issue. Yeah, they really kind of took a little bit of a like let's get real kind of tone with an award that wasn't a voted award. It wasn't like a real like category per se, but it was a thing that Jeff Keighley announced as something they were going to start doing, and the very first game changer award to a person who is involved in the industry. So it feels like kind of like a almost like a lifetime achievement award or like an honorary doctorate, or, you know, something that like the Academy or whatever gives to individuals to recognize their contributions to like the world of gaming. It's in this case.
I mean, you mentioned a very serious tone. I like how Jeff entered this. He said, you know, hey, talking about this at a game show is really hard. This is supposed to be a celebration. Like, how do you address something like this? And he said, we found a way to talk about this. And it is a celebration of someone who has worked very, very hard to help people that have been laid off or that are looking for jobs in the game industry. So the Game Changer Award this year went to a gentleman named Amir Satvat, who apparently was not in the gaming industry at all, like was not involved with it, is not a developer, but had a interest or a compassion to help people find jobs in the industry by collecting all of the information about jobs, helping people get mentored on, you know, getting into the role that they wanted, and just building a general community of people that were searching for jobs in the games industry. And they played a very, very nice video. I highly encourage everyone to go watch it. They played a very nice video on what his community does, what his website does, and then gave him a chance to speak on stage. And boy, oh boy, he just a genuine guy that wanted to help, and it came through in his speech, and it was a very touching, I got emotional during his speech, because it was like you could tell that all he wanted to do was help, and that he was floored that he was being recognized for it. I really, really loved this moment in the show.
Yeah, it was really cool, the way that he was just a guy. Like, he was just a guy who made a website like to help people who had gotten laid off in games find jobs, and like, you know, aggregate job postings and all that kind of stuff. And you just really came across as like a regular guy, and that was really cool.
I'm interested where they take this award next year. I mean, obviously this year it was targeted at a very like serious issue and something that's impacting the industry as a whole. They didn't really define what the Game Changer was. I mean, they said it's someone who's impactful to the industry and whatnot. But I have a feeling, like you said, this will become like a lifetime achievement award that they can give out. I don't know that it'll always be focused on career or jobs or whatever, but I'm interested where they take this. I think this is a very interesting award that they can give out and recognize a person that's been very important in the industry. They did a really nice job this year picking someone that otherwise would not have been known. I really like the opportunity here to elevate someone that otherwise I would have never heard of. And that's really cool. And I hope they continue something along those lines, where they recognize a game changer, that of someone, a name that you otherwise wouldn't know of. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, that's really good that you're thinking in that direction. I was thinking like they could pick like Shigeru Miyamoto, like the creator of Mario. Like they could pick all these interesting, you know, people that are kind of long storied figures in the gaming community. But I like your idea better for people that are, you know, more in the vein of this guy, where they are making a real difference to the gaming community or the gaming industry or whatever.
We're skipping over a lot of awards. I mean, I didn't write down very many awards. You can go look up the awards at thegameawards.com and find out who won. We'll talk about a couple of them and what we think of. But most of what we wrote down is more game announcements. And I think we have maybe 3 more here that are interesting to us. Remember, they announced a lot more things that Chris and I didn't write down. We only know so much. And if you, I think someone in the chat that we were in is, if you're a sword, samurai, ninja, you know, any of those cultures, genres, fighting styles, If you're a fan of those kinds of games, oh man, this is, we talked about zombies for a while, and that was like right now, man, they just keep, there's so many of them and they're so good, and I'm just not well versed in them. I don't know that area of games well enough to like be excited about it. But there's a lot going on that in that world that Chris and I didn't write down. However, I have seen Breaking Bad. So when Aaron Paul walked out on stage, I was like, I know that guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
He and some voice actress, which I wish I knew better. Clearly she was famous and everyone knew her, but I don't know. If she did one of her voices, I'm sure I would have recognized it. But they came out and announced a game called Dispatch, which I think was a world premiere because I had never heard of it, and everyone seemed kind of surprised by it. But it looked so cool. It was, I mean, they did a really quirky like announcement of it, like they were kind of bantering back and forth, which was kind of cute. But in the end, they played the trailer for the game, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really into that. And I think the best way to describe it, obviously go watch the trailer, but I'm going to read the description from Steam because the Steam page is up now. Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy where choices matter. Manage a dysfunctional team of misfit heroes and strategize who to send to emergencies around the city, all while balancing office politics, personal relationships, and your own quest to become a hero. I loved it. I loved the trailer. I loved the comedy. It was like a mix of like some of the weirdness of The Boys and like the heroes of The Boys, the Amazon TV show, with like some of the comedy maybe of like Stanley Parable, and like the some of the it's created by the I think it's made
by like the ex Telltale people, right? The people that made the little choose your own adventure kind of games.
Yeah, so there's like dialogue choices and you know, obviously choices matter, and a story, like an actual like narrative story arc, lots of cutscenes. And I don't know, I was really into this. I was really into the game and the story and the way it was being told. And I'm excited for this. I think this will be a cool, it reminded me a lot of the musical. What was that? The role-playing musical.
Stray Gods. Yeah.
Stray Gods. Thank you. I didn't end up liking that game, but you know, it's a point and click kind of story driven game, with a little bit of like a mechanical game in the dispatching. You know, they showed a little bit of like, hey, this happened. Who are you going to send to this, you know, to this thing based on, you know, the strengths of the heroes in your arsenal and, you know, the event that's happening. So there was a little bit of like actual gameplay that they teased. But I don't know, this seemed like a really cool game. And I mean, very heavily voice acted, you know, very like story driven, and seemed really cool.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I only watched live the first couple hours of the Game Awards because it was a very long show, and then I had some stuff I needed to do. But this one looks really cool, and I will absolutely put it on my wish list. I used to love these Telltale games. Like, I had a bunch of the old like Sam and Max games and stuff like that. I never really got super into the IP branded ones. I think I had the Back to the Future one and didn't really finish it. But if this is those people and they're doing that kind of thing, this looks really cool. And my only concern with it is, does it, like, how much content does it have? Like, is it only going to be, you know, an hour long or whatever, because it's got all this very high production value, which is fine. You know, sometimes you need a shorter game, but it looks like I'm going to want more of this because it's like The Boys without the gratuitous violence. And that sounds great.
Yeah. Yes. This one is out on Steam at this point. You can wishlist it on Steam. It says planned release date 2025. I have wishlisted it. I'm sure we will be talking about this again on the show at some point. Okay, Chris, the next one I am embarrassed to talk about.
Embarrassed?
I'm embarrassed to talk about it because Jeff Keighley was so excited on stage, like emotionally excited to be able to share this next game. And the TGA orchestra played like music and a theme for this next game. And I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I never played the original, so this is not really resonating with me either.
They announced in a dramatic choir, orchestra, like big screen, super big reveal of Okami sequel. I don't know if that's the final name, but
I think it's the working title.
The next one, right, in this series of a game that I have just never heard of, and I feel I'm like, what am I missing? Like, what part of history did I totally miss that he is so excited about this game, and there's this big fanfare of the sequel of it, and I'm like, what is going on?
I think Okami was like a big GameCube game back in the day. Like, it came out in 2006. It just didn't rise to my radar at the time. And I don't know.
Is that my problem? Am I too young to know what this game is?
I think yes, maybe. It like I said, I think it came out originally on the GameCube. I think there's a remake on the Switch. There's like an HD remake on the Switch that you could play, I guess, if you wanted to. But I missed it, and I guess you missed it too. So I guess we're bad messengers for this news.
Okay, I'm gonna rely on anyone that knows more about this. If you know what I'm missing, or you can tell me why I should be excited about this, please. Like, I'm actually asking. Like, let me know. Because again, I feel so. I have like FOMO. I'm like so left out of this excitement. I want to be excited, but I don't know why I should be.
I will say, at least looking at like some really quick video of Okami 1, it at least doesn't look like a game I would never play, because there's certain things where like people will be like, oh my gosh, it's Metal Gear Solid 12, like, or GTA 6 or whatever, and I am not really in those franchises, so I don't really care. But this one looks like one where like I could play it, like it would be fine. It might be interesting. The next game that they did as like a surprise announcement after the show is one that I am super excited about. Like, it looks really, really, really good.
Yeah, they pulled the Apple One More Thing.
Oh, yeah, they did that last year too, I think. I think.
Did he said he was like, hey, there's one more thing, and I was like, all right, I don't know if you're allowed to. Do they have that trademarked?
I don't think so. But did he wink at the camera? Like,
not quite, but it was like almost. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But yeah, this was a cinematic trailer captured on PS5. Like, it was it said in the little fine print, like, trailer cinematic made from PS5 of a new game from Naughty Dog, who are the Uncharted people, also like the Crash Bandicoot and Last of Us people and whatever. But Naughty Dog, who is really good at making these kind of storytelling narrative-y games for PS5 and PS4 and PS3. They are making a new game called Intergalactic, and it looks so cool from the trailer. I mean, I have no idea what the gameplay is, but the cutscene alone looks so cool.
It looked very, very, very cool. I mean, very rich kind of character building story going on in just 4 or 5 minutes. It kind of like a bounty hunter situation. Need to prove yourself. Space. I think the spaceship she was driving said Porsche along the back, so that was kind of cool. But like very, like you could see where this was going, and you could see kind of like the story and the gameplay elements that you're just like, okay, I'm dying for it. It was almost like someone said, man, Starfield just really didn't deliver. Why don't we try it again? And why don't we build a richer, more like personal story about, and maybe it's not even about this girl. Like, maybe this is just an absolute like side quest, but like, why don't we like build a very intimate story about someone who's a bounty hunter trying to prove herself, like, kind of like she thinks very much of herself, like she thinks she's really good at what she's doing, or she needs the money or whatever. Like, it just built such a story in such a small amount of time, and the visuals, particularly for a PS5, looked incredible. Made me very excited about a game that I knew nothing about very, very quickly.
I think it was the reason that it was so gripping is because it focused on the character and not on the world ending consequences of the whatever that's happening, which it doesn't seem like this game is one of those, but a lot of games will kind of jump in. And like, there was the one that was the new game from the Shadow of the Colossus developer. And it was like, you know, somebody climbing a mech and getting in the mech and popping the head off the mech to avoid some big shockwave that looked like some kind of apocalypse thing like that. I don't remember what it was called, but it that looks kind of cool, but it was like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know anything about them. I don't really, you know, okay, the world's ending, but the world ends in like every game. So whatever.
Right. The stakes are so high that you're just like, I just, can we not?
Exactly. We've talked about this before, but like this Intergalactic, the game from Naughty Dog, it really brought it down to this is a person doing their thing in the galaxy or whatever. And you want to see how they make it. You know what I mean? Like you just want to see what they do.
Yeah. Very personal story.
But with the high production value of a Naughty Dog game.
Right. It's almost like what World of Warcraft did this season. I mean, I hate to pull it around, but like, right. We talked about that a few episodes ago where we're just like, World of Warcraft's previous expansions used to be so big and otherworldly and big gods and, you know, Shadowlands and death and in this most recent expansion, like people, I don't know, are people learning how to write stories again? Stories are about the people and the characters and individual people, like feelings and development. And this trailer from Naughty Dog did it perfectly in 4 minutes.
We didn't get any details or anything from that trailer other than that game looks cool. There's no date, there's no even like anything, but it's exciting to see the big huge AAA PlayStation owned studios actually working on stuff, because I think till now a lot of the like big PlayStation, you know, owned studios were not doing anything that was announced. I know they're doing stuff, but like, what is Santa Monica doing after God of War? What is, you know, Naughty Dog doing after Last of Us Part 2? You know, what is all, there's kind of all these questions of what are they all doing. And so now I'm hoping that we're going to start to see some of those kinds of announcements come out and we start to get a little bit hyped about what comes next.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about particularly PlayStation, but the industry as a whole, you know, they were very focused on live service games for a while, and even Naughty Dog and you know, we're kind of potentially making some live service games, and it's nice to see some shift back towards, you know, cinematic story single player games, because I think that's really where true masterpieces are created a lot of times. And I'm not saying that Intergalactic is going to be one, but at least on the first 4 minutes, it has set the stage to show that it might be. And that's exciting.
Yeah, we started talking out with the Witcher 4, and now we're talking about the Intergalactic. Those are both single player story games. Like, they look really good.
Yeah, that's a great point. We don't have it in the show notes, but very, very few live service like game announcements. I think we're not going to talk about it much, but I think like Warframe's kind of live service MMOE. I think Splitgate was announced. But like compared to previous year, I mean, like, gosh, man, like what was it last year or the year before? We got Foam Stars, we got Marathon, we got Destiny content, we got like all of this live service stuff. And now like it's really shifted. And I don't, other than like Splitgate, Warframe, I don't know, maybe one other, I don't think there was very much like MMO live game, announcements of any kind.
No, I don't think so.
Some Fortnite stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, sure, fine. There's always some Fortnite stuff.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg's in Fortnite now, apparently. And so is some other singers. I don't know. He did a concert, and it was kind of cool. It was fine. Speaking of, like, weird stuff that happened, we did talk about that Amazon sponsored the Game Awards this year, and we were talking about like, hey, if they did stuff like during the show, let's hope that it's not distasteful or anything. I would say the ads for the show, very, very tasteful, correctly timed, didn't seem to get in the way. The Amazon sponsorship in general, I thought was really tasteful. Like a couple times during the show, they said, hey, we have these things. You can get great deals on Amazon by going to amazon.com/the Game Awards, which I'm sure you can still do. So I guess I just plugged it for them. And I actually went and looked. There was nothing for me, but like, I thought it was really well done. Like they were talking about some of the games that were nominated and you can get deals on them, or some of the other things that were going on. And I think it's important to talk about because it's important to fund events like this. Like they have to have a revenue stream of some sort so that they can happen. It got a lot of flack last year on the way that it was funded with the ads and everything. So I guess it's important for me to say I was very happy with the advertisements and the tastefulness of product placement and advertisements this year. And I hope they continue on a trend like this.
Yeah, no, I think they did fine. I also went to the Amazon thing, so they got me too. But there was nothing that I bought, so I guess maybe they didn't get me. But it was a clever idea to be like, here's a time limited sale, and they were time limited. Like there was a ticking clock that was like good for the next hour and a half or whatever. You can get whatever Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for $40 or whatever it was. Good deal, but like I already own it, so I didn't need it. But I did like that they were kind of tying that in, and it was very tasteful, like you said, very, very timely, tasteful, relevant. You know, I'm watching a Game Award show. Like you can tell me about buying game stuff, I guess. So that was really nice. It wasn't like I'm watching a Game Award show, please buy toilet paper.
Yeah.
They also had sponsors for like whatever, the pre-show was sponsored by Old Spice, I think, or something. Like they did have a few brands, but they weren't very in your face. They were kind of like the halftime show at a football game sponsored by whoever.
Yeah. It was well done. I mean, again, you're right. It wasn't in your face. They were there. I noticed them, but they didn't get in the way. Okay, this brings us all to the one award that we have to talk about, which is Game of the Year.
It's Balatro, right?
Balatro won a lot of things, more than I thought it was going to win. But no, it did not win Game of the Year. Balatro's segment during the medley was very, very good and very, very cool. But I am surprised to say that Astrobot won Game of the Year. I am very happy for it. I think it deserves it. I am very, very surprised that it won. I'm incredibly shocked, but also very happy that it did.
Absolutely. No, I think that was, and we'll talk about it in a second, I'm sure, but after their speech, but like you could tell they were the right choice for this year. It was a good, it maybe it's just bias because of the games that were up for, Game of the Year, the two that I had really truly put some time into was Astrobot and Balatro. So one of the two that I was kind of rooting for won, but I still think this was the right call, and it was a really cool celebration of gaming. Like it's a capstone to the celebration of gaming that was the Game Awards by having Astrobot, a game about games, win.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to say it. I like how you put it. As a quick reminder, the other games were Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. All of those games, I think, except for Elden Ring, won some other kind of award. So it wasn't like an absolute shoo-in. Balatro won a couple of things. Black Myth Wukong won a couple of things. I don't think Elden Ring won anything else, but that was a DLC. And it already won Game of the Year before. So fine. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won Best Score and Music. And Metaphor ReFantazio won a couple of awards, including Best Role-Playing
RPG.
Game. Yeah. So like it wasn't obvious that Astrobot was going to win. Astrobot did also win a couple of other things, including Best Family Game and some of the other categories.
Best Game Direction, yeah.
Best Game Direction, yeah, which had the exact same nominees. So again, I'm really a little confused about that. But but at the end of the show, I was like, wow, okay, so it really is kind of a toss up here because everything has won something, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. Boy, oh boy, was Astrobot the right game though. I mentioned it during the game of the year or the family game of the year speech, but the group that took the stage just looked humbled and shocked and grateful, and they were clearly the people that you want to be giving an award like that to.
Absolutely. Yeah, when they won the first thing, which was in the pre-show, I think, like the family game one was like in the pre-show, and they came up and kind of gave their speech and like, oh my gosh, we didn't expect to be here. Like, this is so cool. And then they kind of came up again for whatever the next thing they won was, because they won 4 awards, I think. They came up for the second one, then they were like surprised. And then when they came up for game of the year, they were like stunned.
Truly shocked. Truly. I mean, they were going against things that had far greater budgets, far larger teams, really, like, I don't think that Astrobot ever thought that it was, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I don't know that they considered themselves like a AAA game of the year contender game. That's not what they were going for. Right. Like, and they said so much as that in their speech. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because before game of the year, we got a speech from Baldur's Gate's I don't, what is he, studio head or something, Sven Vinka, from Larian. And he did make a really funny joke. He's like, I didn't get to talk last year because they booted me off stage. So, I'm taking my time credits from last year, to give a little speech before I announce the winner. But he I don't know, it was almost a combination of like games for profit, right? Like he really leaned into make good games and the rest will come. The revenue will come. The awards will come. The community support will come. He just, he really leaned into that. And then the game that, in my opinion, was the best representation of that won. And that, I don't know, it just felt almost like a movie script, right? Like it really felt like everything just fell into place.
Yeah, I mean, they may have planned the little speech and the winner. They may have planned those together behind the scenes, but either way, it didn't matter because it worked. So it was well done.
Astrobot takes takes its place next to other greats like Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring. It Takes Two, Last of Us Part 2, God of War, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like that is the level at which Astrobot is. If you have not played it, oh my gosh, please go play it. I think you told me you just finished, like actually truly finished it, and did everything there is to do last week. Is that right?
Yeah, I just I rolled credits on it a couple months ago or maybe a month ago, but I just got, I think, the last collectible or thereabouts this past week as we're recording. So I had it fresh in my mind. It was like, oh man, this game is so fun.
And it came from nothing. It came from a tech demo from the PlayStation.
From PSVR even. It was originally a tech demo from PSVR. And then the little character, Astrobot, was so popular that they did it as a tech demo for the PS5 controller. And then that was so popular that they did it as its own game.
Yeah, it's just what a story. What a cool story.
And the guy kept saying the I don't know what his name was, but the representative essentially of the Team Asobi people kept saying like, oh yeah, the Team Asobi team in Japan is 65 people or something like that. Like it was a really small number for what you would think for something that's Game of the Year. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention that Balatro was also nominated and it was one guy who didn't even show up. Guy.
Yeah, that was really funny when he won and then his publisher came up and accepted the award on his behalf. Like that was clever. So he's turning into the Banksy of video games.
He is. He really is.
But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Astrobot. And Astrobot, they gave their speech. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, but I'm going to steal your thunder. They said we take it very seriously that our game as a like platformer and as like a kid's game could be somebody's first game, like a kid's first game. And they were like, we take that very seriously, that we might be that kind of gateway into this medium. And that gave me goosebumps. Like that was so cool.
Oh, it's just such a good like feeling to, and it's like perfectly true. Like I remember my first game that the first game that I can remember is playing like Pokemon Yellow on a Game Boy, right? Like I remember that feeling, that game, that experience. And for them to point out that like, hey, this could be someone's first game, that's cool. That's awesome. But also we take that responsibility very seriously. I was just like, oh my gosh, what a great group of people making games for me, for you, but also for families and for kids. And what a good steward of the genre. What a good steward of the art form of the industry. I like the cycle that we're going through on Game of the Year. I know that they don't do it intentionally, but if you look at the history, you basically get a family game every 2 to 3 years. I don't know if you noticed that, but in 2017, You got Zelda Breath of the Wild, then you got God of War, Sekiro, Last of Us Part 2, and then in 2021, you get It Takes Two, then you get Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate, and now we got Astrobot. And I like this cycle. I really think it's really cool, and I like that that family games are as much a part of the whole thing as AAA big, giant games that also define the industry. So it's very nice to see that both sides of it are still represented on, I don't know, they can't be planned, but on a relatively consistent cycle.
Yeah, no, it's not planned, but it is nice that that's kind of how it's working out. I'd have to go back and see like who It Takes Two was up against in that year, like who they beat, to remind myself how crazy of a win that was, because I do remember that being kind of a big deal. But it's really cool, and I think it speaks to that everybody can play a game like Astrobot. Like everybody can find enjoyment in a game that looks like a kid's game, but like it reminds you of your first game or whatever. You're talking about your first game being Pokemon Yellow. My first game was Super Mario Brothers 3 that I can remember playing on an NES that my parents got at a garage sale. And I played that game so much. And I played the first world, it's a Mario game. It's got like 8 worlds. I played the first world every time I played that game because it was on the NES. There was no saving, right? You had to leave it on if you were going to play it. I would play through and just basically practice going through the first, through the different worlds, and then you did the little skip and whatever. But like, I clearly remember, blowing in the cartridge and like playing with the, the TV and all of that. It was, yes, they talked about being a platformer, and they talked about, they kind of, edged around, because they work for Sony, but they edged around the tie-in to platformers and Mario and Nintendo and all that stuff without saying any of those words. And that was a very nice way to say it. I was actually thinking that they were gearing up for an announcement of putting Mario in Astrobot for some reason, which would have been wild. Like that would have just been nuts if they did that, which they did not. But I was kind of thinking that they were kind of moving in that direction, but it turned out to not be. But it was just, it brought me back. Like I was like, oh man, Mario. Yeah, my first game was like a Mario game. So cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was a great cap. It was a great ending. They've got it down to a science. As soon as that speech was over, Jeff Keighley wrapped it up, and everyone went home. And it capped a absolutely spectacular event. I think last year I said that it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. But man, I don't know if you agree with me, Chris, but I think this year was 10 out of 10. I was so hyped. The stage was so cool. I don't know how many times I said to you as we were watching it, but I was like, oh my God, the stage is so cool. I
think that's the same stage they had last year, just for the record.
It is, but they make slight changes and they put more screens in the floor and they did fireworks on stage this year during the end.
Okay.
I mean, they add little things here and there. But this is really like a first class event. Like this is big.
Oh yeah. This is, I mean, you know, you watch the Oscars, you watch the Tonys, you watch the, you know, Golden Globes or whatever. I mean, this is just as much as that, except that most of the people are wearing jeans instead of like tuxes. But it is very much a really cool celebration of a medium of art. And that's kind of, and they're legitimizing it, I would say, by having this really serious, you know, awards event.
Yeah, it felt, I mean, I came back to it in my head over and over again. It really did feel like the Oscars. And that was it kind of happened. I kind of thought that last year, but I don't know what it was about this year that I was just like, this is the Oscars for games. Like, I don't watch the Oscars because I don't really care as much, but like, I understand why people care so. Like that's what this is. That's what I'm watching. I'm watching the Oscars for games, and it's, I don't know. It's taken 10 years, and Jeff Keighley's done something amazing by creating this. It's kind of incredible that one guy kind of did it from nothing. And the Oscars is like, you know, a multinational academy of you know what things that are happening over there. But it really has legitimized. I mean, I don't know how big the industry is. I don't have the numbers, but clearly games are becoming a first class industry of entertainment. You know, the same as movies, the same as books and literature, the same as TV. And these are our awards.
That is the thing I wanted to kind of mention, what you just said, which is these are our awards. I think that games are different than movies in that it's an interactive medium, and everybody who plays games can feel a connection to the games that are winning these awards, being like, yeah, I'm part of that too. I played that game, right? I played a bunch of Balatro, therefore I think Balatro is great. Whereas if it's like, oh, you know, Wicked is up for an Oscar, it's like, okay, maybe I saw that movie, but and I don't know if Wicked's nominated for anything. I don't think they've come out yet. But anyway, you know, so, say it was, then, you know, you'd be, okay, I did see that movie, but I didn't participate in that movie, right? I watched it. Okay, maybe some people are participating by singing along in theaters and stuff, but that's a different story. But like it gaming and games, it's something that you do. It's not just something that you see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an active, you're an active participant in the art rather than a passive, you know, watcher or viewer. It can be a very different feeling, a very different like emotion or connection.
So that was the thing that I kind of felt while watching this was, and Jeff Keighley kept saying it. He kept being like, this is our, you know, our industry is growing, or our industry is, you know, whatever. And look at all these great things about our industry. And he's part of the, you know, kind of the games media at this point. And so that's where he gets our, but like, I sort of took it as more of a, like, our as gamers, and not as like, you know, creepy gamers or whatever, not as the bad side of gamers, but as the people that really like this as an art form.
This show this year made me excited for games. You listeners have probably noticed that Chris and I have been a little bit more busy lately. We've got some, you know, obviously everyone's got stuff going on in their life, and I haven't felt like I've been able to play as much as I've wanted to in the past year. You know, and there's the reasons for that. Whatever, it's you only have so much spare time. But when I sit down and I watch an event like this, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It made me excited for games, excited for what's coming, excited for what has happened in the last year. I was really, really pumped, and that was a really cool feeling. I really enjoyed watching. I really enjoyed the celebration, and this, I mean, to the point at which like I almost want to watch it again. Like that's, I mean, I genuinely mean that I really, really had a great time experiencing the Game Awards this year.
I also really like that you and I have made it into a little bit of an event. Like we try to, you know, hop in a Discord channel if we can and kind of watch it together so we can kind of have a little bit of live commentary on some of the trailers as they come up. And like, it's a neat way to like experience that together also. So I hope that you and I get to keep doing that. You know, you could rewatch it as many times as you want, but I do think that kind of watching it live together is really fun.
Well, we have the opportunity to do that. Jeff Keighley has created this amazing series of events. I'm sure we will be in Discord together to watch his next. What is it? Summer Games Fest.
Summer Games Fest.
Something?
Yeah.
Yep. We'll be around. We're running long. I could talk about the Game Awards and again. I could listen to the medley of Game of the Year a couple more times. But we got to wrap it up. So if you would like to tell me what Okami sequel is about, or any of that, or have comments about games that won awards, have feedback for us about some of the games or things we talked about today, you can get in contact with us by joining our Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our older episodes where we talked about the Game Awards last year or read our show notes, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you think our pre-show is as good as the Game Awards pre-show is, like Chris said at the top of the show, you can help us out by sharing the show with someone else that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Jeff Keighley's last words on stage were the Game Awards 2025 will be happening in the Peacock Theater on December 11th, 2025.
Wow. I'm surprised that they announced the date because I don't think that the date for the Summer Game Fest is out yet. But that is pretty exciting because I was poking around the Game Awards website this year and there is a way to buy tickets for the event as a regular person.
I didn't know that. I felt like doesn't this feel like an invite only event?
It feels like an invite only event, but I also, if you look at that theater, it's very large and it has a balcony. So I could see them like putting all of the, you know, kind of general public people up in the balcony, and that would be pretty cool.
That would be very cool.
I have no idea what's going to be going on a year from now in either of our lives, but I think we should keep it penciled in on the calendar as a potential trip to see the Game Awards live at some point in the future.
That would be incredible. You know what would be even better if we got invited because of our gaming podcast, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So I'm down. Like, man, what a experience that would be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as good if you're sitting in the nosebleeds, like, you know, but it still would be pretty darn cool. That stage probably looks really cool in real life. Yeah,
I bet it does. And maybe, who knows, maybe I could run into SkillUp. That would be incredible.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He's like my gaming news, like celebrity crush.
Nice. I don't know who I would be most starstruck by in the games industry, but it would be really cool just to be
you talk about like movie stars or whatever. Like who's your video game like who would you want to run into? Mine's most definitely SkillUp. I genuinely mean that.
Yeah, no, for you that makes a total sense. For me, gosh, I don't know. It would be like Dunkey or something, like to see Dunkey in person.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Some personality type person, you know, some content creator, influencer type. It's hard because I feel bad because I don't know a lot of the faces of the games industry other than, you know, Jeff Keighley and the Larian guy and like a few others. But man, so many
I would
choices.
Totally want to be around the Hazelight guy, but I'm not sure I want him to talk to me.
Yeah, he would be a lot.
He'd be a lot. I'd want to go jet skiing with that guy.
Oh yeah, totally. Or like skydiving.
Yeah. Although I don't know that I would go skydiving, but like that's what I want to do with him. But oh man, it would be so cool to talk to like SkillUp or whatever. I don't know. His content's so good. He seems down to earth. I don't know if he puts on a show or not, but That's why I like Donkey. Like Donkey is a good one too. Like I feel like those people you could actually like hold a conversation with and be like, what? Tell me about your life and what you do and like, you know, whatever. Whereas like the Larian guy, you'd be talking about running a studio, and I'm like, I don't know how to connect with you at all.
We have nothing in common.
And we had nothing.
Well, actually, everybody has games in common. That's the whole point, right?
That's true. There you go. Wow, what a message, Chris. All right, well, I'll see you there next year, December 11th.
Oh, gosh. All right, I'll put it on the calendar.
Yeah, okay. It's already on the calendar for me because it got announced. But
oh, boy.
We'll see. You got to let me know a little earlier next year about tickets. You're kind of laying this on me a little late.
Okay, right now, there are tickets. They will be on sale at some point. We should look into that.
Thanks.
Done.